Well, hey there, writer. Welcome to the Resilient Writers Radio Show. I'm your host, Rhonda Douglas, and this is the podcast for writers who want to create and sustain a writing life they love. Because, let's face it, the writing life has its ups and downs, and we want to not just write, but also to be able to enjoy the process, so that we'll spend more time with our butt in chair getting those words on the page. This podcast is for writers who love books and everything that goes into the making of them. For writers who want to learn and grow in their craft and improve their writing skills. Writers who want to finish their books and get them out into the world so their ideal readers can enjoy them. Writers who want to spend more time in that flow state. Writers who want to connect with other writers to celebrate and be in community in this crazy roller coaster ride we call the writing life. We are resilient writers. We're writing for the rest of our lives, and we're having a good time doing it. So welcome, writer. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump right into today's show. Hey there, writer. Welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Writers Radio Show. Today, I'm with Aga Maksimowska, and Aga is the author of Becalming, which came out in 2026, as well as Giant, which came out in 2012, and was a Toronto Book Award finalist coming-of-age novel about premature sexual development in the fall of communism in Poland. Her stories and essays have been published in Brick, The New Quarterly, Humber Literary Review, White Wall Review, The Globe and Mail, Today's Parents. She was also longlisted for the CBC Short Story Prize. Welcome, Aga. Lovely to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, Rhonda. Thanks for having me.
So you went from Giant to Becalming, and everything I've read about Becalming says this is not a calm book, right? It has
No.
a certain propulsive drive to it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know it was going to be that kind of book when you started writing it, or is that something that evolved like once you got into, I don't know, maybe revising or something?
I think I always knew the story I wanted to tell. I think early on in my writing career, I got the excellent advice to know your ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in order to get there, I knew that it would have to be dramatic and propulsive, like you said. So, yeah, I think it because I knew where I had to go. I did have a feeling of the kind of book that it was going to become. Yeah.
And the main character, is it Gosia?
Yeah, Gosia, yeah.
Gosia.
Mm-hmm.
Did that character come to you all at once, like with the voice built in? Or did you have to spend some time figuring out who she was and what she wanted?
So it's a great question. And actually, Gosia is the same character from Giant. So that's kind of a funny thing. I didn't intend to write a sequel or anything like that. And I actually don't think of Becalming as a sequel at all.
Right.
The books work on their own quite well. But no, it's the same character.
Okay, so
I
you already knew
always,
this character very well.
yes. I mean, yes and no, right? She sort of revealed herself in different ways to me because I challenged her with the kind of supporting cast of characters. She's having to do very different things and be a very different person than she is in Giant. So I wanted to write a more mature book. I wanted to write Giant to me was, all about the experience of being a child. And this book is really so much about the experience of being a parent, but also of being an adult child of parents. So that's sort of that was the idea, at least.
Mm. And as you were working on Becalming, you said you didn't intend to write a sequel. Is this, I was just talking to someone who's writing a trilogy. This isn't a trilogy. It's 2 books done.
No,
Or are you going to be writing another one?
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? I'm open to suggestions. We'll see what happens.
Okay. And talk to me a little bit about, I mean, there's so much about the voice in this novel. So talk to me about how you approached the voice to give it that kind of propulsive drive? Like, what kinds of craft choices were you making? If you can think of them. I know sometimes these craft choices are unconscious, but
Mhm.
are there craft choices you were making that you were conscious of when you were thinking about her voice and I guess the narrative structure or narrative arc of the book?
Um, well, I think when I wrote Giant originally, there was so much conversation around Giant about, autobiographical fiction and all the rest, which I guess it's a label I somewhat resist because Gosia is certainly not me. We share some similarities.
Right.
But I remember the book being sort of slotted into, like, sometimes people would read it as YA, which it's not, and sort of being, in conversation with some writers who maybe perceive the first person as sort of a lesser form. Serious writers write in
Oh,
the
is that a
third
thing?
person.
Is that a thing we're saying now? First
We're
person is a lesser
not.
form? No,
We're
we're
not
not.
saying that at all. And in fact, I remember doing an interview once, sort of, in between these two books, when I was actually writing a different book, which never came out,
Mhm.
and I was very much trying to write in the third person because I think somehow I perceived it to be more objective, like I would allow myself more possibilities in the third person,
Mm,
perhaps more lessons to be drawn from a narrative.
mhm.
And I remember having this interview and just like having this bit of like an epiphany of like, I'm actually really deeply interested in people, and I really am deeply interested in the first person narrative. I want to know people's stories. This happens socially, when I meet somebody,
Right.
I kind of default, I guess, to my journalism background, and I like ask them 20 questions. I always want to know everything about somebody, and I think that's what interests me in literature. I love books driven by voice.
Mm,
I want to be able to feel and hear,
mhm.
the personality. And I think, and I guess good advice too. Somebody said to me once, like, write the book you want to read.
Yeah.
And I think I do. I am drawn to voice. I'm drawn to first person narrative. So, I guess you originally asked me about the narrative,
Yep.
like the craft choices.
Yeah.
And one of the craft choices was to write a book about a very tumultuous time in a person's life, which is sort of that early adulthood, right? Trying to make, adulting.
Mhm.
And which is often, a time where a young person experiences a lot of anger, but I didn't want to write an angry book,
Right.
right? So is to be like, how do I in a novel give across the idea of frustration, of a tumultuous time, of disappointment, without having an angry narrator, which could be really off-putting. I mean, you
Right.
wouldn't last very long with that kind of a narrator.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that that's, therefore, some of the choices to infuse some of the dialogue with humor.
Right.
I really personally dislike humorless books. I think humor and tragedy work so well together.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a definite choice. Like, I wanted certain things to be, where you laugh out loud, butted up right against something very uncomfortable or tragic,
Mhm.
um,
There's
because
something kind of tender about humor, placed in
mhm,
tragedy, isn't there?
sure,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm. Mm.
and very very human, right, and
Yeah.
quite moving. And I
Yeah.
and I think moving without it being sappy or sentimental necessarily, but yeah.
Mm. And so, as you're writing a book, the second book based on a character you already knew well,
Hmm.
was there ever a point where you thought, "Oh, I don't I wanted to say I don't want to be doing this." But like where you thought, "Oh, I know this character too well. Or was she different as a child and different as a young adult? Someone coming into her, adult identity. Did you find her to be very different?
Yeah, I think in some ways, for sure. I mean, I think that's the gift of writing about migration too.
Hmm.
I think when you are writing across cultures,
Yeah.
it's kind of a built-in, gift for a writer because I think she's different in Polish than she is in English. I think, I
Mm,
write a lot about culture and language. Language is
mm,
so much of culture. I mean, there's like research about we embody different personalities in our various languages that we speak.
I
I
didn't
have
know that. That's fascinating.
it really is. I went down a rabbit hole once reading all of this stuff, and it really blew my mind. And I mean, obviously, I can relate.
Mm-hmm.
I speak Polish, I speak English, I speak French poorly, but I'm a different person in those
Mm,
languages, and and language ebbs and flows. It leaves me, it sort of comes back to me,
right.
depending on who I interact with, and so for a character, to be grown up and to be going through the different trials and tribulations of young adulthood, for sure she changes. I don't think she is the same person, but in many ways she is still the same person. There's a scene in the book that I quite like very early on. I think it's chapter 2 when Gosia is talking with Peter, her boyfriend, and they something to the effect of he asks her why she's such a suspicious person, right? And she says, "Suspicion is my birthright. I'm Polish. We're always suspicious of somebody."
Mm,
And he says, "I'm a French Canadian jock. I grew up with a lot of love and privilege, and it's like I'm not suspicious. I trust people."
mm,
And so much of that is, history, is upbringing,
yeah.
right? Gosia is brought up by two survivors of World War II. Those
Mm,
are not people who live lightly.
yeah.
They are full of their own scars and damages, and so she is a product of that. But she's also a product of that in Canada, which is
Right.
very different from Poland, right? So her
Right.
teenage years were quite, in ways, nurturing and lovely, and in ways also scarred by family drama. So,
Right. Right.
she's this kind of I think she surprised me sometimes. That's the fun of writing it. You put characters and scenes with people who bring out a certain qualities in them that maybe you didn't expect.
Yeah, for sure. That's the fun part, isn't it?
Hmm.
Can I ask about the title?
Hmm.
How did you settle on that title? I mean, I think of it as, it's got the word calm in it, so it kind of
Hmm.
suggests a certain type of book, which then the book isn't.
Hmm.
So, but becalming also is sort of something after a storm.
Hmm.
How did you think about the title?
Well,
Did you always
it's just
knew it would have this title or no?
no, I did not. No,
No.
I am self-deprecating and self-professed terrible at titles,
Okay.
so I struggled with them. I didn't really know what to call it, but I quite like the opening chapter with with the sea being a very kind of prominent setting in the book, and I like it as a metaphor. The
Mm,
father in the book is a merchant marine. He is in shipping, and I think I just love the metaphor of the sea and the seagoing journey, which is
mm,
slow and boring,
mm.
right? It's not like it's not like a flight,
Yeah.
and
And it's
and
also
I
becalming, not becalmed,
right.
right? Which suggests an ongoing process.
Yes, and that's, and I suppose I've always I'm attracted to, as a reader, I'm attracted to kind of complex texts. I don't want things to be nice and easy. I kind of seek out difficult things. I didn't want this to be like a neat and tidy narrative with like a beginning and then tidy end. And you know, if you write about somebody who's, you know, 30 and 34, this is their life. They're continuing, right? So, and what Peter teaches Gosia about being a more settled, accepting, loving, calm person, and what Gosia teaches Peter, you know, about maybe being a slightly more, you know, go-getter or like slightly more vivacious person, because she's very critical of his calm and his, you know, kind of taking a back seat to things. I think that was I like the title for that reason. And I kind of like that it's a contrarian title.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about process. How do you fit writing into your life? Is it something you like?
Well,
are you doing it like right when you wake up, or?
Well, I mean, you know, do the math. My first book came out in 2012 and this one in 2026. So clearly I have a lot to learn about process.
But you said
I
you were
haven't
also
always
writing a different book in there that didn't come out. So.
Yes, that's indeed true. So I'm being hard on myself. But I'm a morning person. I have always been a morning person, so I write best in the morning. A lot of this book was written at 5 a.m. and so was Giant.
Okay. Wow.
I kind of like the first thing in the morning when you're, you know, slightly groggy and maybe not actually fully awake. I just find if I write in the evening or if I write later in the day, I just end up writing about the day.
Okay.
And the day just intrudes too much. And if I write first thing, there's a bit of, you know, a fire under my butt because I have places to go. Right. So it's a finite amount of time. So I have to produce. I also didn't write this book at home. I don't think I'm capable of writing at home.
So where did you write it if you got up at 5 a.m.?
I would write it. I would write at 5 a.m. at home, and then I would write it in the library. Okay. So when I got going, you know, like the 5 a.m. process was usually like the very early drafts, drafting, note taking, writing an outline.
Research,
sort of isolated scenes, research. But like when I have the whole thing to produce, when I'm like ready to go and I have to write the full manuscript, then I just book a study room in the library and I go. Okay. So that's a nice time too, because then, you know, you at least have that feeling of you're very productive. Because nothing is distracting you at the library. You have to do it. So the Toronto Reference Library was the location for Becalming, and I wrote Giant at Robarts at U of T.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah. Love writing in a library. I think that's great. Yeah, highly recommend. So I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about like really enjoying difficult books. Because I think, you know, a lot of writers now think they should write to the market. And the market does not love difficult books. Like difficult books
it does not.
To be, you know, they're very much on the literary spectrum as opposed to the commercial spectrum. What's your understanding of what makes for a difficult book?
Well, I like to work. I don't like to be given everything. I feel almost offended somehow when I'm given everything. I like to leap. I like to jump. I don't like to be told, like, this is, you know, somebody told me once, like, most of what writing a novel is moving people through space and time, right? Like, how do you move from scene A to scene B? And that connective tissue is kind of, I think, where the magic happens. So that connective tissue could either be really boring and the reader just feels like the writer's spoon feeding them. Yeah. Or like, or you're being trusted just to know and just to leap. And I think I really prefer books like that. Having said that, I mean, I guess it depends what the work is. I don't love too many characters in the book. Like I don't want too many points of view. Again, because I like voice. I find that, those novels with multiple characters, sometimes I'm like skipping ahead to my favorite character.
Right.
And that's kind of tough. But I think I'm just jealous of poets. I really love poetry. I'm like a closeted poet, and I'm so in awe of them. When I read, especially a novel written by a poet, that's such a beautiful thing. I want to be just like arrested by the language or an image that's kind of tough to crack sometimes. I find that like really, really kind of rich work. Like I want to do that kind of work.
The deep work. Do you find, do you write poetry yourself?
No, I do not.
No?
I have tried and failed. It's not.
I have also tried and failed. Published poetry, but I also have tried and failed.
Right.
Not as easy as it looks sometimes. I wanted to ask you about, it's always of interest to folks, your publishing journey. So thinking about you before Giant, and you'd already published some pieces, I think, in different literary journals, literary magazines. So what was your publishing journey?
Well, it's sort of a slightly, I guess, unfair advantage, but Giant was my MFA thesis. I did an MFA. So, having said that, just because it's your thesis, it doesn't mean that you'll find a publisher easily. So
no, I know a lot of folks who came out of MFA and
So I did the cold calling back then. I submitted it to a bunch of presses, and they were mostly small presses. I mean, back then you didn't have like a direct pipeline into anybody big. There were no like open submissions. You just so there were small presses, and I think my publisher then was Peddler Press, and they had published my thesis advisor's first book. So I think they were probably just attracted to that. Our books were in some ways similar in maybe style and feel. So that's how that went. And then this time around, I also just submitted to open calls. So I don't have a literary agent, so I just did the work myself, and it was quite slow. I want to say it was slower this time around.
Yeah.
Because when you submit, an open submission call, you want to wait for a response, and that can take, almost a year sometimes.
Absolutely.
So it just took time. I had to be patient, which is not a strength.
Right. And are you, what's been your experience working with smaller presses?
My experience has been that, the editorial process is wonderful. I really do love the editorial process. I feel like writing is so lonely, right? So many of those 5 a.m. days and those days at the library, you do feel a little bit stir crazy sometimes. And so to kind of get out of that silo and to talk to an editor who is invested in your work, it is just like, that's probably the best part of the whole writing process, right? It's just to have an ally, but also to have somebody to really call you out on your blind spots. And that is I had an amazing editor with my first book, it was Beth Follett, who also happened to be the publisher. And I had a great editor on this book, Diane Young. And it was just like, I just loved the conversation. It's not, it's not like they're going to tell you to do one thing and you're just going to blindly do it. It's just like, it's the conversation. It makes the book better.
It does.
Because you're not so, blinders on, this is my work, don't touch it. It's just like, I'm actually grateful. Sometimes the process can be so hard because you want to so desperately to get published. But when you actually take a step back, it's kind of good that people say no to you sometimes. Yeah. Because, that second book I wrote that never saw the light of day, I'm kind of glad it's not published. It wasn't ready. It wasn't really me. It wasn't well executed. It just wasn't ready.
Do you think you'll go back to it at any point, or are you going to leave it in a drawer?
No, I probably will leave it in a drawer.
Yeah.
It's a part of the learning experience.
Part of the learning process, and sometimes not all books are meant to be finished and find their way into the world. So,
no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Aga, it's been so great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Resilient Writers Radio Show. While you're here, I would really appreciate it if you'd consider leaving a rating and review of the show. You can do that in whatever app you're using to listen to the show right now, and it just takes a few minutes. Your ratings and reviews tell the podcast algorithm gods that yes, this is a great show. Definitely recommend it to other writers. And that will help us reach new listeners who might need a boost in their writing lives today as well. So please take a moment and leave a review. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to read every single one. Thank you so much.